afternoon, Mr. Adams. I'm so glad you were able to join me again today. How have things been going since our last session?
A little bit better. I don't think about it as much, but at work it's a little easier to focus on tasks, and it's not a consuming issue.
Okay, so how are you, you know, what kind of skills are you using to not think about it as much?
Well, most of the time it's my normal defense mechanism is humor, so I try to crack jokes and that kind of thing, and you just kind of give my coworkers a hard time and joke around with them. When I see customers, I'll try to focus more on their day than on mine, and that way I don't go to that place as easily and that kind of thing. And then I'll try to talk with my coworkers. I do the same thing. I try to focus on what's going on with them and not really talk about what's really going on with me.
So let's talk about what is going on with you. You're referring to it. So let's discuss and define what it is.
Okay. I mean, we're struggling, of course, with the miscarriage. And I mean, the whole big thing has been a shock. She wasn't actually pregnant for very long, so it was, we were still adjusting to the fact of being excited about being parents when we found out. Or, she found out first, but then when I found out, it was I don't know, it was almost surreal, because it's just a whole lot at once, really close together. When she came home, when she told me, we both weren't exactly sure how to feel about the pregnancy itself, because we weren't quite ready. So that was difficult to adjust to, but right as we were getting excited about that, we found out that she had the miscarriage.
Okay. In the past, we've touched on the miscarriage, and one of the things that I've seen in our last couple sessions when I was reviewing my notes is that you've been referring to the miscarriage and the loss of this child as the situation or it. And I feel like, and I would like to see how you feel about the idea of naming naming it instead of just calling it a situation.
Right. It's difficult because saying it or situation rather than calling it the miscarriage is a little easier, because you're kind of like, it's almost like it's there, but you're not really looking at it, type situation. So makes it a little easier to deal with, but at the same time, I realize that I do need to face it, that it did really happen, that avoiding it doesn't really help. So I am trying to say miscarriage more than it or situation or whatever other pronoun that I would use.
Okay. Well, and this is something I also wanted to discuss with you, because different people do have different opinions.
Mm-hmm.
So are you feeling the loss of the child more than the incident, or it's one of the things I wanted to determine with
you? It's kind of a little bit of both, but I would say a little bit more the loss of the child, because we were excited about having a family at that point. It was a little difficult, because we obviously we weren't exactly ready, but at the same time we were waiting because her sister is trying to get pregnant and they're struggling with that, just getting pregnant initially. So we hadn't really said anything to them yet. So it was kind of where it was just us that knew about it, it was a little more difficult because we couldn't like reach out for support because it was like, there was just so much there that was unsaid that we just felt it was easier and to keep it to ourselves.
Is that still the stance you both are taking?
Somewhat, because she doesn't want to burden her sister with more, because she is struggling with that, as is her brother-in-law. So we try not to put our problems on other people. So we've tried to shoulder the majority of it between the two of us, and not really say much to at least around her family.
It seems like it would be rather difficult.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about not telling her family?
I mean, I can't help but agree, because I feel like her sister is going through a lot with not being able to get pregnant. That she would almost think it unfair that she did get pregnant, and then the fact that she lost the child would be she. So I think her sister would have mixed feelings with it, and I think it's just it's a little better to not tell her.
Okay, it's a lot to take on for a couple.
Yeah.
Especially, it's my understanding, I believe that you guys are newly married.
Newly married, but we have been together for a while.
Okay. So what kind of things are you guys doing as a couple to...
Just trying to stay active. We try to get out of the house a little bit more. Not just sit around and watch TV. We try to get out of the house and go do activities. Walk the dogs, take the dogs to the lake. She trains horses, so we try to get to the farm every day so she can ride, and that's a big stress relief for her.
Okay. How about you? You named off a lot of ways for her to cope.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I have a couple of different ones as well. Staying active helps. I like to go to the gym. She goes with me when she can. And then I like to play video games and that kind of thing too, because it kind of puts my mind in another place where I'm focused on that and not the the miscarriage.
Okay. You're also a full-time student.
Yeah. So I've got to focus on that a lot as well. So it makes it a little, because I do have to focus on that. So it's at first it was difficult because I could the first few assignments I had when we had found out, I missed a couple, and then it was hard to focus on to catch back up, and it was a real struggle. But I'm doing better now. I did get mostly caught up. Absorbing the information was difficult. I had to go back and read those chapters a couple extra times.
Okay. Well, like I had been discussing earlier, and what I'm hearing is that these are a lot of ways in which you guys are kind of avoiding the issue a little bit.
Yeah, mostly. It's kind of our technique is to do that for the most part. However, we do talk about it between ourselves, and just talking together makes it a little easier.
Have you guys taken on any other types of tasks? You had mentioned the dogs.
Yeah, well, she's doing the full-time school thing, the student thing, her full-time work and school thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've both been pretty busy. So the dogs did get neglected, so we somewhat, not completely, of course, but so we did. We end up taking them to the dog park, or just taking them out and playing with them and running around, having fun.
Okay. Well, like I said earlier, we got a little off track. Was that you've been mentioning ways that you guys have been distracting yourselves. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, until we can really kind of sort out how we feel and that kind of thing. It's just made it a little bit easier for us, where we don't have a lot the support systems and stuff to really talk about it. I mean, we've both had some friends that have gone through it, so we found that we'll talk to them, and that tends to help, because they've been there and they understand the situation.
Okay, that's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that you have that friend support.
Yeah.
So you said you guys have talked about it. Has she been seeking any therapy herself?
A little bit, yeah. And mostly because she feels like, and I feel like I've let her down, and she feels like she let me down. So we've been, almost overcompensating for it somewhat, trying to make each other forgive the other one when we're really not upset, and we've tried to make that clear, but at the same time, we still have that feeling that we've let the other one down.
Okay. You're making that into, it sounds like you're making that into a joint feeling.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be to me. I know that I just feel like there was probably more that I could have done, but at the same time, I really don't know what. We've talked about it, and that the fact that I feel that way, and she feels that way too, because obviously she was carrying the child.
Okay, what kind of things? What kind of thoughts are associated?
Well, mostly like, I don't know. I feel like I could have helped her rest more than getting up and moving around, because she's fairly active, and she feels like she could have done something different, but at the same time we were doing everything we should have been. So it's frustrating to feel like there's something that we did wrong, even though we really, looking at it and doing, the research that we had done, there really wasn't anything else that we could have done. But we still feel like we fell short somewhere.
Okay. What about you individually? I'm hearing a lot of we, which is wonderful for you guys as a couple, but you're here because of those feelings of depression that you voiced in that first session.
Yeah.
So I want to hear a little bit more about you.
I mean, I am disappointed that that we did that we weren't able to have the child, and then it just it's that, I mean, that's the big thing, because at the point when we found out that we lost it, we were both excited. I may have been a little bit more than she was, just because of her past. She was child welfare worker, so it was just her. She thought of children as a job more than a family type outlook on it. So, of course, she was excited to have a child, but it was just the different outlook on it, and looking forward to being parents, and then not losing that was difficult.